Justin here with the Atlanta Brick Co. And I'm once again joined with Tracy.
Hi.
Joined by Tracy, not joined with her, because that would be strange, like we're conjoined twins or something. We're talking today about Lego robotics.
That's right.
Now, Tracy, you actually teach, or did teach before COVID,
Yes.
a robotics class
Yes,
with the
we
Atlanta
did.
Brick Co.
We did. We taught it here.
How did that work?
So we did it with homeschool students, and we met every week and had a course curriculum, and the students actually came into the class. They learned about Technic information because a lot of the robotics uses Technic pieces and bricks and axles and gears, and then we actually learned how to program on the brick. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we had to stop class, so we didn't get to finish. But the goal was to get to the computer and learn even more on the brick.
Meaning program it on the
Yes,
computer.
absolutely.
So these hook up to a computer.
That's correct.
And then you can actually program it. You don't need a computer,
Absolutely
right?
not. No.
Okay.
And that's why I love this brick, is because it is a programmable brick, and you can program all kinds of wonderful things, which we'll demonstrate in a little bit.
What attracted you to the robotics program? Did you do it before you started teaching, or was it something where Chris just said, "You're teaching a robotics program"?
Well, we actually had a lot of families come and ask us about it, because robotics is really big in the public schools, but we did not have a class here at Atlanta Brick Co. So we decided we would just put an interest to see, and the class filled up, and we had a waiting list within 5 minutes of opening it. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So we had a huge interest, and we had hoped to open it up to beyond homeschoolers, but we just weren't able to because of timing. And maybe in the future we can.
Boo disease! Boo disease! So how long were these classes typically?
2 hours.
2 hours. And
Each.
then you said you never got to it, but the idea was to build, so there'd be a robotics 2 or robotics 3. So
that's
you
right.
were a professor, really.
Yes, yeah, we enjoyed teaching and educating the kids, because it wasn't just about building something, it was how do you build it so it would work, so it would make sense to them that it's going to work. Lego actually recommends age 10 plus for this EV3. However, we let some students as young as 8, as long as we had a pair of an older buddy that they could be with in a group so they could understand. Some children have a hard time reading and following instructions, but an older sibling or an older student, and of course a parent or another adult, would be helpful.
Did you know a lot about robotics before you started this, or
I didn't.
how did you get into it, I guess?
I knew a lot about Lego, and I had been familiar with using these EV3s very briefly in our homeschool just Lego club. But I did a lot of research, and LegoEducation.com has a lot of information for families and parents about all the robotics programming, all the different sensors and motors, very, very educational. And so I did a lot of reading there and watched some of the educational videos that Lego has produced.
Most people hear programming and they start shutting down. This is really simple.
It is.
It is designed to be your first introduction
That's right.
into programming robots. And who doesn't want to program a robot to do stuff? Before we go into it a little more, I want to talk about the history of Lego robotics, because I'm a nerd and I like the history of stuff. Lego robotics has actually been around for a while.
Yes, so this one is from 1998. If you want to hold that one up, that is the old RCX. Lego Mindstorm's RCX. 1998 is the first year. It has no sensors or plugs. There's
Is that
no
an infrared?
ports.
What is that?
Yeah, that is for using like a remote or whatever, but there was nothing to plug into that one. So in 2006, they created what's called Lego Mindstorm's NXT, which is our next one. That one is a programmable brick. You can see there's 4 cable plugs there. And then if you turn it to the other side, it does have an adapter that you can plug in to a PC, and then 3 more cable ports there.
And the cable ports go into the different Lego motors and
sensors, that's
and
correct.
things like that. They totally forewent the studs, and it's all Technic at this point. And
That's
this is
correct.
generation 2, right?
Yeah, so they had NXT, and then they had NXT 2.0. And then in 2013, they created the EV3, which stands for Evolution 3rd Generation. So that's where the 3 comes in. It is much more sophisticated. It's a very powerful processor. There's 4 ports on each side, so it goes A, B, C, D, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 on the other side. There's also the SD card and the USB, so you you can go right into a computer there. And there's the other letters and numbers on that side, and then there's also the PC port.
So
there.
you didn't have to plug it into a computer. You could just put on an SD card
correct.
and then implement it. You didn't have
That's
to go
right.
straight in the computer. That is awesome.
Right. Yeah, that's really nice. And this one has batteries. We also have rechargeable for the battery function of that. That would snap off and be inserted into right there.
I broke it.
No, you didn't.
Technology hates me.
You're fine.
I'm the worst person to do a robotics video.
So most of the cables that you see here are able to be used with both the NXT and the EV3 Mindstorms. However, not all the sensors and motors are able to be used. We have some examples. These are the large motors here. This is a medium motor. And then we have different sensors that is used. You can see them attached to the EV3 here.
Why can't you use some of the motors?
So the programming is not able to cross over between the powerful processor and this one and the NXT.
Oh, so some of the stuff that came out for this is not backwards compatible.
That's
some
right.
of it is and some of it
is
isn't.
correct.
So you just have to know that.
Yeah. In 2021, so just this year, Lego came out with the next level. We have a little boost system there that goes with it. However, we have not yet had the new 51515 robotics set in our store yet. So I
this
haven't
one,
seen it.
This one does not come with the brick. This is an addition.
These are just the mini robots. This is much smaller.
So the new programmable brick is this screenless light up
correct.
thing.
Yes, so it's a 5-in-1 set. It is also for 10 plus, so it is for some older kids. It's advertised as code and control, so you can use a handheld device. You can use your app on your phone.
App.
That's correct, and it works with the powered up that Lego has. The piano is like that. Some of the trains are like that. It's the powered up theme that Lego has created.
Backwards compatible with some of these motors and sensors, or not?
No, they're totally different.
They're on a whole new system.
Yes.
So if you have this, none of this works.
Not to my knowledge. No.
Okay.
And like I said, we haven't even seen the newest one in our store. It just came out. That is all we have.
Okay.
Yes. So we have not even seen the full system of the Mindstorms.
The whole thing was called Mindstorm, right?
Yes.
When it was first introduced.
Yes.
So Mindstorm is their robotics division, and Lego's always been big in education. When I was doing research for this video, I found out that the original version was a collaboration with an MIT professor. Nice. Seymour Papert, I think. Am I pronouncing it? One of his books was called Mindstorm.
Okay.
Or it had that in the title somewhere, so that's where they came. I don't think they collaborate with MIT anymore, but the first few generations were with that school. It was pretty interesting, and it was originally only sold in educational programs.
That's correct.
You couldn't buy it.
That's right.
And so this generation, the public could not buy. Like, you had to have it in a school,
educational
or
setting.
You had to be a registered educator or something.
Yeah.
You couldn't just buy it from Lego.com. You actually had to go through a program to get it, because they were leaning hardcore into the education of
That's
it.
right. And this EV3, which is this one right here, this large blue box, this set is different than the EV3 educational version.
It is?
Yes, there's another box set that is for educational. Now they're compatible completely 100%, and it's kind of add-on. You can add and do even more with that one.
So it just comes with more stuff, basically.
More pieces, more technic. There's pictures here of the other build you can do with just this set. So this is a really awesome set because you can build this tracker, which is a really fun one with the tread tires here, but you can also build several other builds, and it gives you all the pieces for them.
But only one at a time, right?
Correct. Oh, absolutely. One at a time, but you disassemble it and then you build something else, and you learn different programming because it's going to have different attachments to do different things.
And just like any Lego set, you can then learn from this and build your own thing.
Absolutely.
And program it your own way.
That's correct.
Okay, so they hold your hand, they walk you through it, and then they say, okay, you've learned what you can learn, go do it.
Yes, and it does come with instructions for the basic build, and then on the Lego website, you can download the entire manual.
What's the QR code for?
You can scan it to download the instructions, like onto your phone.
Oh, okay. But only the newest version actually requires that.
That's correct.
Now, I want to be clear about this. Programming does not mean you're going into this thing going 1000011.
No, that's not.
They're all like graphics and little symbols and you learn what the symbols mean, like left turn, right turn.
So you can do images just on the screen and no movement. Or you can just do movement and no images on the screen.
Okay.
Like we have a couple examples that I programmed that it'll have eyes that flash or different sound.
He talks.
And then he has eyes, and he has a stop sign.
So the screen actually gives you a little personality for this guy. So if you push that button...
The eyes.
There's his eyes.
And
then he stops you.
And then I have a couple of programs that I did where it moves forward. And then a couple attachments for this medium. This is a medium motor here. And we have different attachments where we can attach it and then this will spin.
Okay.
We have an attachment with a claw that we can grasp something. We have a mechanism here that will shoot these red balls out. And then we also have one that will hammer. That hammers.
So the large motors will do different things.
Yep, we have both large motors on, and you get 2 large motors in this EV3 set.
Okay. And you said the education version, just to reiterate, it was exactly the same, it just had more stuff.
That's correct. It has more lift arms, it has more gears, it has more cables so that you can keep building and adding onto it.
Okay.
As well as some of the educational programs, the school clubs, they will actually go to competitions. And so they're not just building small robots. They might be building 2
huge
foot tall.
robots.
That's correct.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, so as we mentioned, this set comes with 1 remote. It has AAA batteries, 2 of them in the back of this remote. And it has the little tiny screws that you can use a screwdriver for to remove the back and change out the batteries. It also has the ability of these Technic pins to attach to another remote, which I am going to use the feature of moving the robot forward. And then this one remote will be used to use the spinner.
This is the treads, right? So this is like the left side and this is the right side,
That's right.
or vice versa. And then this is what's hooked up in the front motor.
That's correct. Okay. And there's different settings here depending on which of the ports you're using. And that's why we had the students in pairs, because then they each could use a remote, because a lot of times you have more buttons than you have fingers.
If you push just one tread, it'll turn.
That's right. So I have to have both this way, but then if I want to spin at the same time, then I have to figure out how I'm going to do this. That's why when you have 2 children or 2 adults working together, or a child and an adult working, then you can use 2 remotes at the same time. So this is the actual program of the EV3 moving forward and turning.
So that was just a pre-programmed thing that you just did just to show us,
Yes,
right?
yes. And then I have another one. This is the spinner with the axle. We're going to attach it to the front of this medium sensor, push it in nice and tight, and we're going to hit this feature in the middle.
That's coming for me. Ah, that's scary. It's the spinning blades of death.
The students in the class, they would talk about what they would want to do. I would have them write out what brick programming should look like, so then they could go to the brick and know exactly what they wanted to do. How many motors, how many sensors, if they wanted it to move forward 5 seconds, 2 seconds, 1.5 seconds, however distance they wanted to go, and then the addition of whatever feature, if it was the claw, if it was the shooting balls, if it was the spinner, the hammer. They would get to the brick and they would be like, well, I don't know what to do. I get confused. But if they had it written out in their notebooks and they had the example that we did together on the board, then when they went to their programmable brick, it was very easy for them to go ahead, put it in, and then they had a demonstration of it, and most times it would work, and it was very gratifying to see them know what they were doing. So this next example is going to be the hammer. And again, these are all part of the EV3 set. I didn't have to create any of this. I just have switched out the attachment that we're putting on the medium motor here. So this this is the hammer feature. You can see the gears working here. We're just going to use this for the hammering.
And like you said, all these attachments can be made in the same set, right?
That's
you don't have
correct.
to unbuild one to build it.
You can make all of these attachments. You look down in the education instructions and you can find the parts and the pieces to make each one of these.
We have an unsuspecting minifigure set up. Oh! How's that for education? He is pounding his lesson into his head. It's the same attachment,
That's
right?
correct.
Like you didn't have to rebuild anything. You just take this pre-built tool out.
That's correct.
Okay.
It goes right into this red right here. This red axle attachment is for the axle of whatever you are using.
Tracy is hooking up the ball firing mechanism. The way it works is it looks like the gears push an axle
push
into
forward.
it, and because this has a slight give to it, it creates tension, and it's just gonna fire minifigs down into our... Oh! Oh, you can aim?
You drop the ball.
Oh.
So the next ball has to get reloaded down to the bottom.
Oh, I see. That one went up.
Up and
Poor
over.
guy. All right, Tracy, show us exactly how in the world you program this guy.
All right, so you can tell that it's on because the green light is on there. You can see there's 4 buttons across. It has the name EV3, although you can change that to be whatever name you want to give it.
So you can name it Charlie.
That's right, or Charlene. And then you have the battery over there. So this is all the saved programs that I could run. So they're all listed throughout here. All the different things that we could make it do. When we move over to the right, this is a saved file. So in the saved file, these are all the different programs that have been saved. You can scroll down through them all and see what is there and listed. The next tab over has several different options. The port view tells what the ports are being plugged into.
Okay,
this.
so that A, B, C, D, that's what
correct,
that
and
is.
1, 2, 3,
okay, so you
4.
can say this motor does
That's
this,
correct.
this. Oh, okay.
Yes, so that's where you would go to find that. This is your back button. Then the motor control tells you exactly which ones I currently have plugged in to the different sensors that we're going to be using. IR is the remote control feature, which we did not talk much about the remote, but the EV3 does have a remote, and you can use multiple remotes, and we sell those here in the store. It comes with one in the set, but you can use multiple remotes if you're having different sensors do different things.
Okay, so you can control it live rather than just programming.
That's correct. And then brick programming actually is where you do all of your programming. And it lists all the different things. It lists the medium sensor, 1 large sensor, 2 large sensors. It lists the sound. It lists the different touch sensors, the visual sensors, the color sensor, the time. Remember how we talked about we wanted to move forward for 2 seconds, so we would set the time there. We can do a repeating program, or we can have it do it 1 time or 5 times. We can also save it here and then find the file that we want to save it into. The last one is the data log, where you can actually do graphing and you can measure certain functions of the robotic that you're doing.
Like what? Give me an example. What would you use that for?
How far you want it to go forward before it touches and turns if you're using the touch sensor. You could also measure how the lighting is. They have a light sensor, so you could see the different contrasts of light. If you were picking up something, you could see the distance before you reach the object for the claw to pick up.
Oh, so there are different ways to program it. You could program it with light. You could program it with distance rather than time.
In the touch sensor. So then it does a
Interesting.
movement when it touches something, and you program it to do that movement. And then the final one is this wrench. So it has the volume. You can put it to sleep so you don't waste the battery. Has a Bluetooth, a Wi-Fi, and then other just brick information.
Yeah.
So this is the program for the hello, the eyes, and then the stop. So you see that the sound and hello is the first of the sounds. It says hello for 2 seconds. It has the image of the eyes, which is number 1, for 2 seconds. And then it has the image of the stop sign, which is the 9th image. and that is for 2 seconds as well. And I just have it running one time, and then it stops.
This was for the program that you taught. You had a binder with a bunch of these
That's correct.
pages.
Yes.
So, and you had it all broken down. This is all stuff you got from Lego.com, or did you have to
LegoEducation.com.
Okay, and
these are the sounds, and they're numbered. Number 1 for the hello we had, and then we had the eyes, which were number 1, and the stop sign, which was number 9. So this is a program of an actual movement that we are going to ask this robot to do. So before we just had the images and the sound, this is actually going to be quiet. It's just going to make motions and movements.
So this is how you program it to do a preset move.
That's correct.
Okay.
So do you see the image of the 2 large sensors which are on either side of this brick? We're going to have it go forward for 2 seconds. We're going to use both of the large sensors to make it turn to the left for 1 second. We're going to use both the large sensors to make it go forward once again, and we're going to do that for 2 seconds. And then we're going to have it turn to the right, both motors again, for 1 second, and just do it one time.
Well, Tracy, I have to say that was really
That's fun.
Gratifying to see those minifigures. I mean, I love minifigures, but that was pretty awesome to see them get thrown about by these spinning spikes of doom. Tell us about getting your hands on these.
So we actually have several in the store. Lego does not sell them right now. They're only selling the new one. You can purchase just the brick itself, and then some of the sensors and cables are available on Lego.com. And then certainly you can get some parts and pieces on Bricklink.
But you can't get the sets anymore?
No, you cannot.
I wonder why they're selling the brick and some of the other stuff, but not the set anymore.
I think Lego just wants people to buy the newest.
Oh, they're just phasing it out.
Yes, that's
okay.
correct. That's correct. Just like you can't buy NXT. So we have this whole set, and then you can also just buy a brick. You can buy individual remotes. You can buy sensors. You can buy some of the cables if you need additional
From us.
ones.
Okay.
Absolutely. And we ship all over the United States. This is a great thing to have this summer. We're coming up on summer, and if you have children at our board that need something to do this summer, this would be a great project for them to work on, especially if you have an older sibling or maybe a grandparent. Some of the friends in the neighborhood, they could get together and work on building these over the summer. It would make a great activity, and it's educational.
In your opinion, 10-year-olds, most 10-year-olds would need someone older to help.
I wouldn't have any student under the age of 8 because it's just a little bit too much.
Okay.
If they have older siblings that they're all working together, then that's definitely doable. But on their own, I would not recommend it.
And no programming experience necessary, really.
No, you learn everything here, and the instruction manual actually gives you some examples of programming in the instruction manual that comes in these sets.
And that's all on the Lego Education website?
That's correct.
Okay. So everything you printed out, the binder you use, that's all printouts from their official website.
That's right.
It's all pictorial based. You're not
is.
putting in these weird little commands and stuff. It's all based on pictures. So once you learn what the pictures mean and how the pictures work together, it's really easy.
It is. And it's reliable. Whereas the newer version, you have to have the app. You have to have the program on your smart device in order to make it work. This you can use without any technology except this programmable brick.
That's an interesting point because like this has the app and this might be able to do more stuff and it might be lighter or whatever. But as soon as the app is no longer updated, this won't work anymore. We've talked about that before on our themes vodcast. Watch it. This older version, the last version that doesn't use an app or doesn't require an app.
That's correct.
This will always work.
Always works.
As long as you have batteries, as long as the physical components function, this will always work and you don't have to worry about Lego updating the program or the app or anything, whereas this will always have that problem.
Yeah. This one that's available in our store is $349.99. Again, you cannot buy this set on Lego.com any longer. If you want to start some great project this summer with your children or maybe some neighborhood children, that would be awesome.
And definitely go on YouTube and look up Lego robotics competitions,
For sure.
you will see some amazing stuff. We are just barely scratching the surface on what this can do. And if you buy more sets and more add-ons, it can do more stuff. I've seen ones that transform. I've seen ones that pick up stuff.
Yes.
And you can remote control it or pre-program it where you just push a button and it does
whatever.
everything. I forgot to ask this earlier. This comes with a rechargeable option. Do these?
No.
These are batteries. These are double A's, right?
AAA.
AAA.
But those don't die as quickly as these do.
Okay.
So these are AA. There's 6 of them that fit in the back of this right here. Or we do have, you can buy these separately in our store. These are the rechargeable.
Okay.
And you plug these in with the cord, and then it can clip in here, and it works just fine.
Okay.
You just need to remember to always check that battery level on your programmable brick. Yeah, it
there's
shows.
an indicator right
and
there.
the green light will turn to red when it's
Oh,
no longer.
okay. Is that what you
This
call
brick, programmable brick, is
Okay.
$249 on Lego.com as of this morning when we're recording this. Whereas you can buy the whole set here in our store for only $350.
That is an amazing deal, actually.
It is.
And they only sell some of the wires. Do they still sell the motors?
And they do sell the
Cables.
motors and the sensors.
And that's
they do
it.
some of them.
Whereas
Not
we
all
sell
of them.
everything.
We do. We have everything here.
Okay. All right. So if you guys are interested in getting in robotics and you don't want to go into something that has a definite limited shelf life, I've never touched Lego robotics before this. And this made me less intimidated, just seeing the easiness of it. And especially taking the class, I think, would just really be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
Will classes ever return?
Not sure. That's an excellent question.
Okay.
I would be very willing to teach them if we get the opportunity to do that. We don't have any of our classes or our parties right now.
Now, I know one of the reasons is the party class room has now been completely changed into the processing room.
Yes.
So it'll never happen in that room.
That's correct.
But as far as, did you guys ever go to schools?
We did go to schools and some of the homeschool co-ops that are in churches or in other community centers.
So that might come back.
Absolutely.
Once schools are allowing
that would be great.
Thank you so
You're
much.
very welcome.
Let's get robotic.
Thank you. What am I supposed to
There you go.
I feel like I'm a ninja.
Can you be a ninja robot?
I guess.